welcome back. I'm like filming this right after I filmed the January wrap up, so that's why I'm wearing the same clothes. Also because I literally wear this like sweatshirt every single day, and then I wash it and then I put it right back on because it's like really comfy. I don't know why I'm explaining myself. I read 13 books in February. I don't know how to count, that might be off. But I read one of them twice. I'll like get to that in a second. The first one I read was The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. I am hoping that's correct. I feel like I'm gonna mispronounce a lot of names this month, but it's fine. I gave this book a 1 star. I'm doing like a book club thing with my friends, so one of my friends picked this for a book club, which is why I read it. The only thing I have to say about this book is the same thing I said in my Goodreads review, which is that this is a book about nothing. And that's what I think about it. The next one is Their Eyes Were Watching God by Zora Neale Hurston. This one is basically like it follows this Black woman starting in the 30s, I believe, and it like follows her from like childhood to like her 60s or something. I don't remember exactly like how old she was or whatever, and it's basically, it just like follows her throughout her life, and it's like about her like mundane struggles and stuff. I really like this book. I gave it a I gave it 4 stars. Yeah, I have nothing bad to say about this book. It was great. I think Zora Neale Hurston is a great writer. I loved her writing style. And that is the end of the sentence. The next one I read, which I actually also listened to on audiobook, was On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous by Ocean Vuong. I completely love this book. It's a fictionalized memoir. It's really great. I love everything about it. I gave it 5 stars. I feel like I like ascended after I like read this book. I decided to read it because I read one of his poems that is called Someday I'll Love Ocean Vuong, and that like really resonated with me. And then I decided to read the book, and then I did, and it was really great, and I have 0 criticisms. It's fantastic. That's the only thing I can say about it right now. Yeah, it was just like there was just like nothing bad about like the entire book. Like it's like perfect. It's like the perfect book, you know what I mean? The next one was The Little Prince by Antoine Saint-Exupéry. I haven't taken French in like a couple of years. I read this one twice, the first time in English and the second time in French, because I wanted to like improve my French, but I also didn't want to like look up a lot of words, so I read it first in English so I would like know the context of what's going on, so I could like look stuff up less. You know how reading works. I don't know why I'm explaining this in so much detail. I gave it 4 stars. I thought it was pretty good. I actually, like, I know a lot of people, like, read this when they were kids and stuff, but I didn't, so I'm glad I read it now. I thought it was a very sweet story. It was very nice to read, and I also liked being on the other side of, like, I think you can tell very quickly that it's, like, written for children because of the way they talk about, like, adults, which I completely agree with. But yeah, it was kind of interesting to read that for the first time as an adult, because it just like reminded me of what it was like to be a child and be like, oh my god, these adults are so fucking boring. Yeah, the next one I read was technically a novella / a short story. I don't know what the length requirement is for those, but it was The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, which is still like on my list as a book for some reason, I guess, so I'm talking about it now. I gave it 3 stars. I thought it was actually kind of boring, but I still enjoyed it mostly because it was short, I think. I already watched the movie, like the Benjamin Button movie that like came out like 500 years ago. So I knew like the whole story, but yeah, it reads a lot more like a very long biography that would get put in a newspaper or something in like the announcements section for like life achievements, just like an extended version of that. So it wasn't very entertainingly written, but I knew what like the story is, so I still enjoyed it regardless. I have enjoyed other stuff Fitzgerald wrote. Like I liked The Great Gatsby. This is just not my favorite like writing from him artistically. Yeah. The next one is The Outsider by Stephen King. I gave this one also a 3 stars. It was good. I kind of expected it to be more creepy. Yeah, I don't know. I picked it up like reading that it was like a horror book, so I expected to be horrified, but that never really came for me. I thought the plot was pretty interesting. The plot is basically there's this guy who gets who's a suspect in a murder case, but there's no way that he could have committed the murder because he was in a completely different place. There's like a twist, but I don't really think it was a twist. It was literally the first thing I thought when I like read that it is a horror book and they introduced the premise in like the first chapter of the book. So it wasn't like a twist that was surprising. And I just thought this book was too long and it didn't scare me, so I gave it 3 stars. It was still enjoyable. I just think it should have been more scary, I guess. The next one is Killing Stalking by Kugi. I read it like online. It's a comic. It's basically like a psychological thriller. There's this dude called, what the fuck is his name again? Oh, right. There's this dude called Yunbom, and he has a crush on this other dude called Sanu, and it turns out that Sanu is like insane and fucked in the head, and he like kidnaps women and like murders them and like assaults them. It's like really messed up, and yeah, like it's like very fucked up, insane, messed up. Both of them have a lot of problems. I think both of them do like at least 1 murder by the end of it. I don't know how to talk about this like work without getting into the nitty-gritty, but if I get into the nitty-gritty, that's like too graphic, I think, to like put in a monthly wrap-up video for booktube. I ended up giving it a 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. I mean, it was definitely really hard to read, but it was very interesting in a way that learning about like a murder is interesting. Like, it's not good, but you're still interested in it. You know what I mean? Like, it's not good in that, like, in like a moral way. It's actually very well written. I really enjoyed it. The next one I read was The 4-Hour Workweek, Expanded and Updated by Timothy Ferris. I gave this book a 1 star. I wish I'd never read it. I think I wasted my time. The only reason I finished this book was to be able to say that I got through the whole thing, so I actually do know what I'm talking about when I talk shit about it. I think Timothy Ferris is completely wrong about like 98% of the things he says in this book. At one point, it's a self-help book about like how you can like have the 4-hour work week. I mean, like, spoilers, I guess. It's a self-help book, so I don't think it matters that much. But at one point, he literally says you should hire someone in, like, India to do your job for you and, like, pay them, like, $5 a day to do your actual work. And then you like profit from doing no work, and I'm just sitting here like, is like what the fuck? I don't even have words for that. Are you insane? Are you fucked up in your head? Like, oh my god, how can you say that? How did people, this has like some like really good reviews on Goodreads where people are like, oh, this book is so great. Timothy Ferris makes great points. How can you read that part in a book and be like, oh my god, this is great advice that I should definitely follow? I don't get it. Like, the entire book is just shit like that. I kind of feel like I could just make like a whole rant video just dedicated to this book and how I hate it so much. I think like it's garbage. It has no redeeming qualities. Timothy Ferris doesn't even write well. Like he meanders off topic so much. At one point he just, like, half the time I'm like in the middle of like a chapter and I'm like, I don't even know what this chapter is about anymore because you lost the plot like 5 pages ago and you still haven't found it. Like, just how is this a real book that people like take seriously? I don't get it. If I ever met Timothy Ferris in real life, I would punch him in the face. What an asshole. Like, he seems like so out of touch with reality. He has this whole thing that's like about like, oh, like the new rich, and I'm like, if the new rich is just profiting off, like, if the whole like thing behind the new rich is that you are just making people in third world countries do all your work for you, guess what, bitch? That's the old rich too. You're not better than them. You're both terrible. This is not a sustainable way to run a society. Anyway, I'm gonna like stop complaining about that book now, but like it was so bad. Like, don't read it. Like, you'll waste your time. Also, if you like really want to, I think you can basically just like read the table of contents and get like the same amount of like actual knowledge out of the book that you would if you actually read the entire thing. Like, Timothy Ferris has nothing to teach you, is my point here. And I'm gonna stop complaining about this book now. But yeah, I kind of feel like I should just make like a whole video about how much I hate this book. I think that would be like fun. The next one I read was The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins, which is the President Snow like prequel to like the Hunger Games trilogy. I love the Hunger Games trilogy. I read it in 3 days. I read a book a day when I like first got it when I was like 12, or I don't know, maybe like I was 13 or something. I gave this book a 3.5 stars. And okay, here's what I think about it. I was actually pleasantly surprised. I really didn't expect anything good from this book. I kind of thought it was just gonna be one of those like, oh, my book series took off, I need to make some kind of cash grab novel because the readers of the series will buy it. I don't think it was a necessary book, because of course it's not necessary, it's a prequel. We already got the main content, and like the actual trilogy. But I think it was interesting to like see what Snow was like as a youth. He's 18 in this, yeah, and he's like still like evil, but it's kind of interesting to like follow a protagonist that is evil, like for sure. He's like definitely a bad guy, but like you're also in his brain, so you're like getting to see his thought process. I thought that was pretty interesting. And it was like, I guess it was like nice to see all the like calls to the original series with like how certain aspects of the Hunger Games actually started. I didn't mind that. The tribute for District 12, the girl tribute, Lucy Baird, she is pretty interesting. My only issue, or I guess one of my like big issues with this book, is it's like really weirdly paced. Like the first half is really slow, but I actually really enjoyed the slower aspects. And then the second, like the like middle to like the 2/3 mark is like, it's not fast, but it's not like slow either. And then the last like third of the book is just, it goes from being like kind of slow to like it just goes into being like a completely different book. And then like the last like 20 pages is, they're so fast-paced that I was just like, what the fuck is going on? And honestly, those last 20 pages sound like the more interesting book concept. Like, I feel like instead of making the... it was the 11th Hunger Games that happened. Instead of making the 11th Hunger Games the, like, focal point of this book, I think she should have made it like the 11th Hunger Games have ended, and then the book actually starts like right when this one ends. Like, I think that one would have been way more interesting, because like as soon like the book ends and I was just like, shit, like that's like the part that I want to see. Is like, I want to see like Snow's rise to power. He hasn't like risen to power yet. He's like only just had, you know, he's like had all this like stuff happen to him. I don't want to like give spoilers, but you don't actually get to see the interesting part. Which is like, she picked the like wrong like part to like write about. Like, what the fuck, Suzanne Collins? The literally like if the last like 20 pages were the book, or not the book, but if the last 20 pages were like the first 100 pages of like a different book that followed like the fallout after, or followed like Snow in the fallout after the 11th Hunger Games, that would have been a better book. The next book I read was I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings by Maya Angelou. This is it's a memoir. I don't know what the difference between an autobiography and a memoir is, technically. I don't know if there is a difference. I'm an English major. I gave it 4 stars. It like follows her in her youth, from I think from when she's like 8 or so to like her like teenage years. I really liked it. I really like the writing style as well for this one. I don't know if I said that for Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Suzanne Collins writes really well. And so does Maya Angelou. And yeah, like it was really interesting to read about that part of her life. I don't actually know much about her, so it was kind of interesting that like the first thing that I like learned about her was like from her own memoir. But I guess in a way that's like really nice, because, you know, like it's like she's like telling her own story. Yeah, I don't have that much to say about this one either. I feel like weird like talking about memoirs like too much, because it's like someone's like actual life, and I don't want to pass judgment on it per se, even though it's like I'm like technically judging like how well they wrote a book about their own life, but I don't, it like makes me feel weird. So I'm just gonna move on. The next one I read was Iron Widow by Shiran J. Zhao. I hope I said that right. I feel like this video has like way too many me wondering if I said that right. I gave it 4 stars. If you don't know, it's like a science fantasy based on like some historical figures in Chinese history, except it's like very like loosely based. Like she changes like a lot of stuff, and also there are like giant robots and stuff. So yeah, I really liked it. I gave it 4 stars. I already said that. It was really interesting to read because usually the fantasy I read is like inspired by Western culture, so it was very interesting to read one that was inspired by Chinese culture. And also, this is somewhat a spoiler, so just like skip this part if you don't want the spoiler. But she has what's her name? The Wu Zetian, the main character, she's like in a love triangle, and like they don't have the like fighting over like the person aspect of the love triangle. Like it ends in polyamory. Like I love that so much more. It's like so much more satisfying to like read about than like love triangles where it's just like 2 completely boring people fighting over this third really boring person. I'm talking about Divergent. Like it's just like I really liked it. I especially really like the character of Wu Zetian. Of course that's not what she was like in real life, but you know, it's like inspired. It's not like historical fiction or anything. It's fine. It was really fun to read about. I really like the magic system. I'm actually really looking forward to the release of the next one, because this one ends on not necessarily like a cliffhanger, but like on like a big like reveal. And I actually like it's not that it like came out of nowhere. I just didn't like realize that that's what was going on until the characters like said it word for word, and then I was like, oh my god, suddenly everything makes sense. Which is like how you should do a twist, is like the reader should be like, oh, this actually does make sense, not like what the actual fuck are you talking about. So yeah, it was great. I enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to the release of the next one. And the last one I read this month was The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson, and I gave this one 3 stars. My issue with this book is like the same one that I had with The Outsider, which is it's just not like creepy enough. Like when I pick up a horror book, I want it to give me nightmares. I read Pretty Girls by Karen Slaughter and like 1.5 years ago, and I still have nightmares about it. You know, like that's the kind of horror that I want to read. Like if I read a horror book, I want to be scarred for the rest of my life. But this, I don't know, it just like didn't give me the creepy feeling. It didn't scare me. My friend said it was like scary for them, so maybe I just have like too high of a tolerance for weird shit before I get scared. Like there's the light in my kitchen is like flickering, and I didn't even realize it was flickering until one day my roommate was like, oh, I like called in maintenance for the light flickering, and I was like, I thought I just hallucinated it. Like I didn't even realize it was flickering. I just like, if I get haunted, like if I like walked into Hill House, people would be like, oh, like do you think this is creepy? And I'm like, oh, I just thought I was imagining things. Like I don't fucking know. So I don't know, maybe it's just like a personal issue that I have, But I didn't really find it that creepy, and I kind of just wanted it to be like way more creepy than it was. I enjoyed it, but I just think it wasn't creepy enough. That's what I think about it. There was also one book this month that I DNF'd, and it was Eldest by Christopher Paolini. It's the second book in the Inheritance cycle. I read Aragon when I was like 14 or something, and then I just didn't read the next one until now, and I picked it up and I had it on audiobook, and I was like listening to it, and I was like, oh my god, this is the most boring thing I've ever listened to. I don't want to hear it anymore. I don't know, I guess like maybe I'll try to come back to it someday. I've heard good things about the series as a whole. I just could not get through it. It was just really boring. Yeah, okay, I've talked about all of the things. This is the end of the video. Bye.